Hey everybody, welcome back to Wiki Sports. This is at the buzzer and joined as always by Ryan Flynn. Ryan, we're here after maybe one of the biggest moments in Celtics playoff history. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been one of the most eventful games in playoff history, period. I mean, obviously, pretty ecstatic temporarily. I mean, I can't imagine what this series has done to my blood pressure.
It's
Or
not
like
been good
any
for any of us,
fans.
that's for sure.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to do a study on like the effects of the past 2 years on the average Celtics fan blood pressure. But I mean, my thoughts were, as I said, I don't necessarily think we deserved to win last night, right? But we did. Derrick White, like that was a phenomenal play. Even though Marcus isn't the guy necessarily the guy you want taking that last three, his release was incredibly quick and impressive. I mean, if there's one thing you can't knock him for, it's being afraid to take a shot. You know,
That's
and
true. And he's learned to shoot a little faster too,
yeah, exactly.
for after that 76ers game where he would have hit the game winner, but he was just a little too slow on the draw.
It's like you're not going to tell me what the right decision is, conscious. I'm throwing it up anyways.
But you know what? That's what separates him from,
I am.
other people who are very talented, but maybe would have that hesitation, because when he's on, it's great. And, this one worked out. Also, definitely for me, now that Derek White, obviously, he's been great in
Mhm.
these playoffs and last playoffs too. Last year, he's been really great. But now I'm like, okay, you know what? Happy for San Antonio. Glad they're getting the first overall pick this year. Just because they gave us Derek White.
Yeah, I mean that's a that's going to be a fun story. I think we were just saying I would love. I definitely listened to it, heard it on another podcast, a suggestion. But like if Austin Reeves somehow ended up as like Wemby's second in command, that'd be dope. But like the foul play you could do with like a guy that big who's that versatile and like Austin Reeves. But yeah, anyways, I mean that's a big difference. Is right as good as the Heat supporting undrafted crew is, right? As incredible as Gabe Vincent's been, Caleb Martin, these aren't necessarily guys that have a lot of moves for like end of the game like buckets, right? Like it really comes down to Jimmy. And obviously, most of that game, Jimmy struggled. He seemed to get it at the end. Then it was just one of those games where the Miami Heat, it doesn't always look pretty, but somehow they stumble into, they kind of just are persistent. They get the job done. And before you know it, when they tie the game up and then they win, right? And Jimmy hit those 3 free throws. But, uh, this the Celtics have multiple guys like that, right? I think that's the big difference between the two teams, right? And I mean, a great example was, we know Smart's not afraid to do it. And then we saw Derrick White. I mean, that was an incredible play on his end, right? Jalen can do it. Obviously Tatum can do it. Uh, Brogdon's injured right now, but he's a guy like that as well. So I really think that's a difference. And I mean, I don't know what to say to Miami. You done fucked up, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, this isn't a team you wanted to go to a game 7 with. And I think they knew that. And we saw it last night. I mean, I've never seen Jimmy Butler like this. He looked like a deer in the headlights. He
mhm,
looked like Tatum has looked at a lot of different times in the playoffs, and now Tatum looks like easily the best player in the series.
mhm.
He's just using every advantage he has on Jimmy, and it's working. And it's great to see.
Yeah. Here's something, Ryan. Do you think Tatum's the kind of player who plays better when his back's up against the wall?
I mean, I think that right now that's been this entire team. That's kind of just how they've been. As of right now, I would say, yeah, with Tatum. Again, I heard this somewhere, but like, as good as Tatum is, he doesn't necessarily have, he doesn't have like a singular quality like Giannis or someone like that. Um, so he really needs to like kind of be craftier in order to be the best player in the league, and we don't always see that from him. And it seems like, yeah, when he gets in these situations, sometimes he feels low. That's when he learns, right? And that's kind of this whole team. They kind of have to hit these plateaus to really like grow. We definitely saw it
Mm,
when Tatum came back after being humiliated last year. We saw how he grew, and now we see how he's just growing, like the defensive awareness, right?
mm.
His playmaking ability. just his ability to be more versatile and less predictable.
Yeah. And not for nothing, if that ball goes on the other side of the hoop, Jason Tatum was right there. I don't know if you saw that, but
Oh yeah.
when Derrick White's laying it in, Jason Tatum's looking him in the eyes from the other side of the hoop.
Oh yeah.
So it's great. And like you said, this this Celtics team, the Heat had to kill them when there was that when they were up 3-0. They had to like really, win one of these games because you can say, oh, you just drop one game, you just drop two, but
Mhm.
you see how it goes. Now they're the better team. I don't think anyone would argue that, right? Like the Celtics are the better overall team than the Heat.
Yeah, much more
Um,
talent, much more talented. I mean, the Heat, it was kind of thought of, especially before these 3 games, can be more
mhm.
composed. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Celtics are the overall better team, right?
Yeah, and they're down 3-0. You just need to win one, and now all bets are off for this game 7. And I mean, we saw last year a truly great playoff game in game 7 between the Heat and the Celtics. But this year, I know Jimmy Butler has already said like we're gonna go and we're gonna win. Although he has said that about the other games too, that they didn't win. But how demoralizing must this be for this Heat's team to be in this position now?
I think it's just very frustrating. I don't know about demoralizing because you were the underdog going into this, right? And they kind of thrive off that. And then they had that high of being up 3. And yeah, it's just, I know it's demoralizing, but it's like you had to know this could happen, right? Like, I'm sure they felt good, but like, I would have to think they know this team is way more talented than them, right? And they kind of knew. Yeah, it's just tough. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with Jimmy because he was already struggling in what was it, game 5. And, yesterday, we just haven't seen that from him. I'm not sure if he's a little hurt or if he kind of sees what's going on and he kind of knows, like, man, if I'm going to beat this team, I'm going to have to just like have everything I've got for this last game. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
It's been an incredible series. Couldn't ask for anything better. It just seems like with the Jeter and A-Rod thing, the way it's kind of, the way the
Yeah.
momentum has just shifted so much going home at Boston. It just feels like everything is in Boston's court right now, right?
Mhm.
But by the same token, the way they played last night, yeah, they were good in the first half. We started to see them fall apart, right? We saw like finally, yeah, it's like, yeah, we got this. We're up by 15.
Mhm.
And then we see the good old Celtics we know, right? So
A
it's like,
very classic Celtics move
mm,
to
so
to stop being aggressive in the final like 5 minutes of a game that they're winning, and then let the other team get
yeah,
tied up or a lead. Very
yeah,
classic.
no, but yeah, we really can't. So on that note, um, I can't say I feel like 100. It's just like I said before,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a
this is
pretty
not a done deal
no.
by any stretch of the imagination. But I will say, even if we, I will be disappointed if we lose it for
Of
sure,
course,
100%. But I don't think I would have been. I'm not going to be as disappointed as I was when we were looking at getting swept out of the Eastern Conference Finals, and especially after that Game 3, where, holy shit, the Celtics just looks like they had no heart. You know?
yeah, it would have been bad if that had happened. I would imagine like Missoula loses his job.
Yeah.
Or it's heavily pressured, right? There maybe if they really want to keep some stability, they I feel like you would have lost the team at that point. Maybe they
Mhm.
get like a good like assistant, really experienced assistant coach. I think most likely, I would think you got to fire him if that had happened.
Mhm.
And we don't know what would have happened with Jalen either. I think,
Yeah.
but
Ooh,
now it's
we were
extremely
looking down
different.
a dark path, man.
Yeah, it would have been a tough off season, right?
Yeah.
Now I think no matter what, you feel if not the same as we did, at least the same as we did before, or if a little better, like to see how incredible this team can be when they play at their best,
Yeah.
right? Um, yeah, and you got to respect them. You really do have to respect this team when you're playing them. And it seems like other teams do. Like we, as fans, we see it night by night, and we're just like so
Mhm.
hard. But I think, you know, I'd imagine teams in the league see it differently, and they know how good the Celtics can be, right?
Yeah. So I guess the only last question is, do you have a prediction for Game 7?
I I don't have that kind of. I do not have that kind of foresight, Brian.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pretend I do. It's tough. I'm leaning Celtics. I'm not usually, I can look at the spread and tell you. I'll look later, but I'm not sure how it looks. It's probably going to be a tough game. You never know. Sometimes they can do the blowout thing, but I think it's a tough game. But if I was pressed, I'd say I'm 51% Celtics, 49% Heat. And the 49% is given just as I'm sure it's classic with a lot of Boston fans. I survive on fear, always kind of expecting the worst.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to live, to be honest. You're never that disappointed. But I mean, I can see it either, like you said, being a close game, or like you said, being one of these games where the Celtics just come and jump out, super hard.
Seems very unlike, and then they lose the lead. I think that actually is probably the most. No, that is probably the most likely. Is they'll get up, everyone will be going crazy, and you won't even know how. And it is because I mean the Heat play pretty well away, from what I recall. We haven't been really that
great at home.
Yeah. We're actually worse at home, and we've been worse at home in the playoffs for sure overall. And I just, even though Butler and Bam have looked pretty underwhelming, I just feel like you can't count those two out.
They're still great players.
Yeah, but the thing is, if they don't play well, the team doesn't have a shot.
Yeah. I mean, if they had just played at all well in the first 3 quarters last night, Heat probably easily beat us, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so, I would say so.
But it's going to be very exciting. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to say, but that's to give credence to, and I do think they just weren't playing well. And like I said, we slipped. But overall in the series, I'd say you kind of saw the Celtic. I've been saying to people, this team is 100% at its best when it locks in defensively. That's what the Celtics need. When this team locks in defensively, right, they're pretty much unstoppable, and that's what really creates their offense. To me, when they're at their best, they're a defensive team first. It's when they fall asleep on that side when things get ugly.
Yep.
And give credit. Like I said, yesterday was just a mess on both ends at certain points, but overall, I mean, they've just really got the Heat's number defensively, and that's really been the difference in turning the series.
Definitely. All right. Well, we will definitely be here after Game 7. We might even live stream. We'll see. We'll figure out what works and what doesn't. But I'm very excited. It's going to be stressful, even if we don't live stream. It's going to be stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, just watching last night's game was plenty stressful. So
yeah, that 3 seconds left, I was just like, man, it all comes down to 3 goddamn foul shots. Our season's over. I was like, there's no way. And then I was like, yeah, Smart misses it, and I wasn't going to do, it wasn't one of those ones where I wasn't like, he took it.
Yeah.
Though of course I was kind of like, all right, I get he's going to get it off fast, but felt like an asshole after because White made that incredible play.
I've seen so many videos of people, specifically Heat fans, I think just because those are the ones that are being circulated, of people streaming or reacting to that and not watching past the ball bouncing out of the hoop and celebrating and then realizing, which is
that's hilarious.
So tough. But anyways, Ryan, where can they find you online?
They can find me on Instagram. If you're into basketball cards, any sort of trading cards, or just basketball in general, check us out at DunkAF. And I think that's all I got for right now. I'm going to be posting on the Wicked Good Sports blog pretty soon. I'm going to be doing a prediction of the top 5 for the NBA draft, both how I think it should go and how I think it will go.
All right, so look out there. That is wickedgoodsports.com. Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter at the FakeBMart. This BMA. Our channel is pretty much everywhere. Just search Wicked Good Sports. Ryan, thank you so much for your time.
Bro, thanks for having me as usual.
We'll see you all in the next one.